Everyone says to get started with content creation, you just need your phone. So let's put that to the test. Today we've got my Canon 4000D DSLR, which I'm going to put against my Galaxy S24 Plus, which is recording me now. We're going to compare them in photo and video. So if you want to see how they compare, stick around. Hi everyone, welcome back to Life and Tech with SK. I'm SK, and today we're going to compare my Canon 4000D versus my Galaxy S24 Plus. We're just going to compare them in natural and artificial lighting for photography, and then we're going to look at how they perform in video. To get started, let's look at some of the specs on these devices. The Canon 4000D has an 18 megapixel APS-C sized sensor. If you're not familiar with sensor sizes, an APS-C size sensor, which is also known as a crop sensor, is slightly smaller than what's known as a full-frame sensor, which you'll find on the higher cameras. It does contribute to lower quality having an APS size sensor, but it also makes the camera a lot smaller and less bulky. And it's not necessarily low quality, it's just lower quality. The Canon also has 9-point autofocus. I'm gonna put an asterisk in that for a bit later and you'll see why. It also has a 2.7-inch LCD screen. It has Wi-Fi, a USB-A port, an HDMI mini port, and it also has an SD card slot and a lithium battery, which I get about 1 to 2 hours of shooting time on. Switching to the S24 Plus, this has a 50 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel telephoto. So as you can see, there's a lot of camera for a lot of different scenarios. I think this is just because you can't interchange the lenses like you can on the Canon 4000D. In terms of aperture, you have f1.8 on the main camera, f2.2 on the ultra wide, and f2.4 on the telephoto. If you're not sure what aperture is, it's essentially how much light the lens will let in, which is what kind of dictates this nice blurry background which you'll get. For the 4000D, in terms of aperture, the lowest I've managed to get is f3.2, which is provided by the kit lens that comes with the 4000D. If you wanted to go a bit lower, you'd probably have to purchase another lens, but for now I'm just using the standard kit lens that comes with the 4000D. In terms of video recording resolution, the S24 Plus can record at up to 8K 30 frames per second, and the 4000D records at up to 1080p at 30, 25, or 24 frames per second. So in terms of video recording, the S24 Plus kind of thumps the 4000D, but for now, let's get into some pictures. I ran a poll on my Instagram to kind of get people's blind comparisons of shots that I took on the S24 Plus versus the ones that I took on the 4000D. And the results are pretty surprising. It seems people really enjoy the kind of brightness that Samsung will add in its post-processing of images versus just the raw images that come out of the 4000D. So anytime a picture was a bit brighter, it kind of seemed to take over the poll and just win. Except one where I shot in the dark, like complete darkness. The only light was my computer screen and the computer itself. And that kind of had a mixed bag. It was a bit 50-50. Some people enjoyed being able to see what's actually on the screen, or some people enjoyed the kind of colors that were coming from the fans on the computer itself. But again, this is just standard shooting. I was using the 12 megapixel camera on the S24 Plus, and I was using this P mode setting that adjusts the aperture and shutter speed for you on the Canon 4000D. So I'm sure you could get similar or even better results if you just, fiddle around with the settings, because or at least on the 4000D, because then you can get a more refined image. And similar to the S24 Plus, you can also adjust it in the Pro camera mode to get a more refined image and what you're looking for. But I don't think you can get rid of Samsung's processing, whereas here you can edit the image yourself. So you kind of have to pick and choose which one you'd prefer to do in that sense. So now that we've looked at some pictures, let's go into some video. And I won't lie to you, before I even start the section, unzima for the 4000D. It struggles with quite a few things, but let's start at the beginning. First of all, it doesn't have any autofocus while you're video recording. So you have to set your focus before you start recording the video. Here's a video that I'm going to show you right now of me just walking around. I try to go from a distance and then get a bit closer to the cameras and walk forward in like a non-linear path, so to see how they trace my focusing. You can see that the Samsung tends to actually, try and adjust and refocus whenever I get a bit closer or a bit further, whereas the 4000D has a central point that it focuses on. It's not awful because I think the aperture was set a bit wide, so it was trying to focus on everything in the frame, but it's not the best, what I'm saying. It doesn't try and focus on me and exclude things from the background. So that's the first problem. The next thing to talk about with regards to video is video stabilization, which again, the Canon 4000D lacks pretty much because it has no inbuilt stabilization. whereas Samsung on the S24 Plus does have a setting to turn on video stabilization and a further setting called Super Steady Mode for people who are running and attempting to record at the same time. So I'm just going to show you a clip right now where I've got the S24 Plus and the 4000D both like lined up in my hands, and I'm walking down a path, within the complex. The ground is quite uneven, which is the point, because I do need to see how they handle the small jitters and micro adjustments. And as you can see, the S24 Plus handles this very smoothly, whereas the 4000D really shows, the every step that I'm taking causes the frame and the sensor to move up and down quite a bit. So that's another thing that you're going to struggle with the 4000D. If you do want to do video recording, you do have to get a gimbal for that, whereas you could just pick up the S24 Plus and get to running. So the next thing I want to talk about is audio quality, and I wanted to start. You should be hearing the Canon 4000D's audio and mic quality. I don't recommend using the default mic for either the 4000D or the S24 Plus. This is just for comparison, and as you can hear, it's not very good. So let's switch over to the S24 Plus's audio and video. I can definitely know that it's also not very good, but if you hear a nice difference that you want, like that's worth considering, then please let me know. But again, I don't recommend using either of these. I'm just going to switch back to my USB mic that I was using beforehand. So now that we've discussed the core features of these devices, let's talk about pricing. So the 4000D you can find for about 8,000 Rand with the body and the kit lens together. Or you can get the twin bundle, which is the one I have, which comes with a longer range lens, but that goes for about 9,000 Rand. The S24 Plus you can find for about 22,000 Rand. And as you can see, the price gap is quite a bit large. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend the S24 Plus unless you actually need a new phone. It does more than just take pictures, which is why the price gap is so large. But the final verdict on the situation is that, or my verdict on the situation, is that if you need a camera that is just going to teach you how to get into photography, your aperture, your ISO, your shutter speed, all those things, plus gives you the raw footage that you can edit with, so you can also pick up editing, I would definitely recommend the 4000D, especially because of how entry level its pricing is for cameras nowadays. I would definitely recommend getting the 4000D because it'll definitely, I learn something new every time I pick up this camera. If you want a camera that's just going to, do the processing for you and do all the work for you, I wouldn't recommend either of these. Again, the price of the S24 Plus is too high, and the 4000D doesn't do any of this processing for you. I would actually maybe look at something like an iPhone 11 or an iPhone 12, something more on that end, if you know what I mean. Same thing goes for video. Again, this is not made for video, I can see, and that is not, the S24 Plus is way too expensive just to be considered for video. In that case, I would actually look at the Sony ZV-E10, which I'm considering to buy because it's at a nice sweet spot at about 12,500 Rand right now for video recording. Yeah, but that's it. That's all I got for you guys. If you actually want to see a phone that's more in the price range of the 4000D, you can check out my S21 FE review, which I do have a couple shots in there. And it's also got a 50 megapixel main camera, and I think it's got two 50 megapixel cameras. Hold on, don't listen to me in this video. It's got two 12 megapixels and it's got one 32 megapixel selfie camera, but they're really good. Trust future me, don't trust me in this video. So yeah, but check out the review. I think you'd like it. It's a pretty close one, I would say, between the 4000D and the S21 FE in both photography and price. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Please subscribe if you want to see more. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.